Welcome back to another episode of Rob Sports Center. As you can see by the title and by the thumbnail, today we're gonna be breaking down some film from T-Mac. Now I don't be wanting to butcher his name. I'm not good at pronouncing his name, and plus I like the nickname T-Mac, so that's what we're gonna stick with. But I'm gonna be breaking down some film from his regular season debut game against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we're gonna dive straight into it. So you see right here the very first play. So this was a gotta have it situation, by the way. This was a 3rd and 7. And if you're looking at the way the corner's playing very, very deep. It's like he even was in a sense playing past the sticks, I guess, was trying to prevent trying to prevent T-Mac. I see I almost just butchered his name just then. But he was trying to prevent T-Mac from running past him. But at the same time, you got to think about the down and distance in a situation. If it's a 3rd and 7, technically, he doesn't have to run past you. All he has to do is get to the sticks. So right here, he's playing super off. And I was looking at a video with Tre'Davious White, the corner from Buffalo Bills. And he was just talking about how in the NFL, most offensive coordinators do not believe that defenses can successfully play off-man coverage, so they always attacking and they always try to exploit it to get situations and create them to where the DB is playing off. So right here, they didn't even have to create the situation. The DB was just playing off, and he just pretty much ran just a little simple 6-yard slant. I know they were saying one thing that he struggled with in the preseason was getting his head back around, and now as a receiver, that's something that you immediately have to do, because more times than not, especially if you and your quarterback have that bond, you're pretty much knowing that he's anticipating for you to be at that spot. So a lot of times the ball might even be out of his hand before you even really get out of your route. So getting your head back around, it prepares you for that. So if he does have to throw the ball early because of the pass rush was getting to him, you're still able to make a catch. But right here, he makes a pretty good catch, catching it with his hands and getting the first down. All right, so right here we got another gotta have a situation. So I've noticed that the first 2 plays, obviously we seen were gotta have it situations. They was those 3rd down plays, and I like that for Bryce Young, because I feel like every quarterback needs that gotta have it guy. I need a guy that whenever we need a play to be made, if it's a 3rd and 7, it's a 3rd and 8, and we can get a one-on-one matchup on the boundary side, or if we can just create some type of play to be able to get him the ball. I think every successful quarterback obviously needs one, and if you go throughout the history, they've all had one. So right here, you just got him lined up on the outside again. So he's lined up in a much tighter split. He's lined up inside the numbers, kind of in a condensed formation, which you kind of see a lot of in today's NFL. Like that's kind of the current trend that a lot of teams are operating out of those condensed formations. And it's for a few reasons. Obviously, one of them being in man coverage, it allows you to be able to like run those mesh concepts to be able to get those pick and rub routes, and then in the zone coverage, it allows you to be able to have the high-low effect. So right here, you got him matched up with Travis Hunter. So it looked like the Jaguars was in some type of zone, because I'm looking at all of the guys, all the defenders, and if you're looking at them, most of them, all of their eyes are watching the quarterback. So more times than not, they can tell you that that's a zone, and that's when those soft spots kind of come into play too. So when you got your eyes on the quarterback, like so, see right there where he was able to get the ball to him between Travis Hunter and between those guys. So he ran just a little simple in route, and obviously, based off a zone, and I think that's something that good receivers have to be able to identify exactly what defenses are in too. That way they can know how to adjust my route, because if I'm in man coverage and I'm in this position, then I'm gonna just carry it all across the field because he's in a trail position, and I'm just gonna run away from him. But if I'm in a zone, I'm gonna be running through an opening to get to another zone. So I gotta identify what they're in and what they're trying to do, and then from there I can kind of decide on what I need to do, and that's pretty much what he does right here. So I'm pretty sure him and Bryce Young was on the same page right there. And it takes that to have a dominant wide receiver and quarterback combo. And Bryce Young just does a good job at putting the ball to him right there in that little soft spot. And he just did a good job at securing the catch, being able to move the sticks for the first down. All right, so it's so crazy because the previous clip, you remember when I was saying that every quarterback needs that go-to guy. They need that guy to where it's when it's time for a play to be made, we can go his way. And if we can get a one-on-one matchup on the boundary side, we can go his way. And that's exactly what they got right here with T-Mac. They got a one-on-one situation with him on the boundary side of the field. The corner's playing up. So, you're looking at the down and distance, right? So you say it's 1st and 10. So from a corner's perspective, I know that I can anticipate a few different routes, right? Because it's 1st and 10. It's not like it's a 3rd and 5 or, a gotta have a situation. So it might not necessarily be something running at the sticks just because they technically don't need. It's not a gotta have it. It's not a dire need of a first down. You would like to get it, but it's not necessarily a dire need. So the corner was playing up close, obviously, to try to kind of placate, to try to, take away the opportunities of, what he could do in a sense. He didn't get physical with him at the line. He allowed for him to get a free release. And T-Mac just did a good job, man, of just taking advantage of that, man. Now, one thing I'm looking at too, I'm noticing that if you look at right, at the route. So he's going to be funneling him towards the out of bounds. So the corner actually was in good positioning, honestly, because he was funneling him towards out of bounds. So if he would have just stemmed that route up the field, eventually he would have ended up out of bounds, and that would have took him out the play anyways. But right here, T-Mac just did a good job at being able to slam on the brakes and kind of just catch the corner, because the corner momentum already was going forward just based off of leverage and based off of where he was at, because he was on his he was on top of him. He was on his top shoulder, so he was in good position to defend anything that was over the top, but anything that kind of was underneath, he was a little bit vulnerable to, and that's exactly what they ran right here. They just pretty much ran like a curl route. Honestly, he ran like, it looked like he ran to maybe 12 yards and kind of worked back down to 10. Once again, like you see he did a pretty good job at being able to, get his head around in a pretty timely manner. If Bryce Young would have threw that with a little bit more anticipation, then it possibility could have been a little bit more, but they made it do for what it was. But it was just a nice rep on T-Mac's part. All right, so right here, man, it would have been really nothing fancy with this play. It was a 1st and 10, empty backfield. That means no running back was in the backfield with him. You see that they were lined up 5 wide. They had a 3-by-2, which is 3 receivers on one side, 2 receivers on the other side. T-Mac was lined up on the 2 receiver side on the boundary side. And obviously you see that the Jaguars were in a zone coverage. So he just pretty much, obviously, knowing the situation, and pretty much just runs the route that the play entails, and was able to get open. And Bryce Young just did a good job at being able to put the ball right there on the money with him. He does a good job at showcasing strong hands, just being able to catch the ball with his hands. For me, if I'm looking at a receiver, that's one of the things that stands out to me, are guys that can catch the ball with their hands. Now, granted, in some situations, you're not going to always be able to get your hands on it based off of leverage and position. Sometimes you might have to catch with your body, but I'm an advocate for catching with your hands for a lot of different reasons. One being that it makes it much harder for the DBs to be able to make a play on the ball. When you're waiting for the ball to come to you, to hit you in the body, that gives the DB more opportunities to be able to close the difference and make a play on the ball, whether that's just hitting, tackling you and making that ball kind of lodge out, or if that's them playing through you and kind of just swinging their arm around and kind of just bat it down. So I'm a firm believer in being able to catch with your hands, which that's what he does. Bryce Young throws a pretty good ball. He's able to catch it in stride, tuck it, and get upfield for some yards after the catch. And like I say, one of the things that stands out to me too is anybody that's going to be a ball carrier, whether you're a receiver, quarterback, running back, is ball security. You want to make sure that when you get that ball in your hands, that you keep that ball in your hands. So if you start the play off right here where he catches this ball, once that play in, we're expecting that ball to be in your hands, not on the ground or in the Jaguars' hands, because the turnovers obviously take away from opportunities of us to put up points on the board. And we all know that the name of the game for the most part is scoring points in order to win. So turnovers take away opportunities for us to be able to put points up on the board. So he does a good job at catching that, getting that thing tucked, and getting upfield for some yards after the catch. And then you see that the Jaguars defenders came afterwards and was just trying to pull the ball out, but he just did a good job at making sure that that ball was secure. All right, so for the final play, man, we got another guy to have a situation, man. You got a 3rd and 10. Like I say, man, that's what I've been liking to see. I think that for a young quarterback like Bryce Young that's been going through the struggles that he's been going through, I think that putting some talent around him would actually help the situation. So, I like to pick with them going to go get T-Mac. And I know that they got Jimmy Horn Jr. too. So I think that those can be 2 guys that can kind of do some good for him in terms of just kind of having somebody that he can kind of rely on. Like I say, we see most of the plays that he made were on 3rd down plays, and got to have a situation. So you always going to love that. So on this play right here, man, you just pretty much got him on the outside. He's lined up kind of still in a condensed formation. So obviously you looked at the Jaguars. When you're looking at the defenders, everybody's head is looking at the quarterback. So more times than not, that probably tells you that they're in zone coverage, but that you do have pattern matches and things like that. But I ain't going to dive too deep into that. I'm just kind of trying to give you guys an understanding of what's going on this particular play. And I hate that we couldn't really see the top of the route because it looked like it probably was a curl route, but I'm looking at the strength of the catch. Like, just look at that, him being able to go up, get that ball, and it probably wasn't the most best thrown ball, but like I say, for me as a receiver, you're not judged just based off of the good catches, the easy catches, the catches that come directly to you. For me, you're judged off of the catches that are unidealistic catches, whenever it's an overthrow, whenever it's an underthrow, whenever the quarterback got to try to get the ball out of his hands in a timely manner because the pocket is collapsing, because those are going to be situations. Can you make catches, those tough catches in traffic, in tight coverage, just like this one right here? Because when you're in the NFL, obviously, man, the talent gap starts to shrink and minimize. So the separation that you were getting at high school and in college, it's not going to be the same. So how do you respond in those type of situations? So that's what I like to look at. You know, he does a good job at just being able to go up. I love, like I said, once again, I love seeing the receiver be able to catch the ball with their hands and not their body. So that's the thing that I like about T-Mac. He can go up and he can make those tough catches, and he can, you know, attack the ball opposed to, you know, waiting for the ball to come to him and giving the corner time to be able to drive down on the ball. So, man, that's a lot to like about T-Mac. You know, obviously, you know, their connection is going to get better the more they play with each other. They start to build a bond. He starts to know what Bryce Young is looking for. Bryce Young starts to know what he's looking for. Obviously, man, T-Mac is a specimen, man, of a heck of a receiver. You know, you got a guy who's 6'4", maybe even be 6'5", and run routes to me like a guy who's like, you know, 6 foot or 5'11". You know, he's a very shifty guy for his size. So I think that there can be a lot that they can utilize with him. You know, you just got to hope that the play caller, whoever is the offensive coordinator, is, you know, putting him in the best possible position to be successful. And in terms, them putting him in the best possible position to be successful, that'll be putting Bryce Young in the best possible position to be successful. So I think Panthers fans, y'all got something good with T-Mac, man. But, man, if you guys did enjoy this video, do me a big favor, man. Smash that thumbs up button. Also, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. And when you subscribe, make sure that you got that notification bell turned on, that way you be notified every time I upload. And I'll see y'all in the next video.